mighty Sepik, 800 miles long, one of the biggest and least known rivers in the world, runs from West Irian through Papua New Guinea. The task is to see whether these modern Australian Navy patrol boats can penetrate 200 miles up this great waterway. The probing signals of the electronic echo sounder measuring the depth will be the real eyes of the patrol boats in the vast Sepik swamplands. Lieutenant Commander Sam Bateman, skipper of HMAS Aitape, had read everything recorded about the Sepik. He was warned of Sepik hazards such as floating logs, jumbo size. The river people of the Sepik gave a shy reception to Aitape and her sister ship, HMAS Ladava. The fact that most had never seen a warship apparently failed to overly disturb village life. The ships were on a tight schedule because they could only run the river during daylight. Night passage is an invitation to disaster in the swirling 8-knot current. The Papua New Guinea seamen aboard the patrol boats are recruited throughout the territory. These men are being trained to do every task aboard ship. From radar to gunnery, they serve with the efficiency expected of any seaman in the Australian fleet. Men from the Sepik River are already serving with the Papua New Guinea division of the Royal Australian Navy. The Great River is a way of life for many thousands of the territory's northern population, and natives of the Sepik are among the best small boat men in the world. Angoram is the real start of the Sepik, although it is 70 miles from the sea. The settlement was reached on the first night of the voyage upriver. Angoram is an important centre for the purchase of Sepik River carvings, famous throughout the world. The settlement has the advantage of having an organised marketplace for the buying of the carvings. Patrol boat commanding officers are resourceful men. You have to be when your sea-going home is a long way from the big Navy yards. There is little room for mistake. A bent propeller blade from an emergency grounding or a torn rudder here could mean long steaming in cyclone zones to reach a repair slipway. The few references to the Sepik in the pilot books warn of many dangers, including floating islands. These masses of vegetation, earth and tangles of trailing roots are torn from the projecting bends of the river by floodwater. A boat caught at anchor by the swirling weight of the vegetation could be swept ashore even with all anchors out. The village of Tambanam is one of hundreds of settlements that dot the path of the Sepik. Like most of the villages, it is set practically in the water. The art of canoe building is the universal language of the Sepik. It is a full-time business, recreation and occupation for what appears to be the entire male population. The men of Tambanam showed they were well versed in business as well as local marine architecture. Some of their carvings were simply not for sale at visiting Navy prices. These items were firmly put aside for the big money bids of museum collectors and their agents. The rushing torrent has gouged out deep canyons in the bed of the Sepik. Depths of more than 130 feet were recorded. The patrol boat crews found that swirling eddies in the Sepik usually indicated deep water rather than shoal conditions. The last Australian warships to penetrate this river of moving mud were the torpedo boat destroyers HMAS Warrego and HMAS Parramatta. In 1914, they ploughed up the Sepik for 193 miles in an unsuccessful search for a reported German raider. Amid the unending brown of the river and the dripping green of the swamp and grasslands, Aitape is like stumbling on a New Guinea bird of paradise. The government-run school at Aitape houses a bubbling mass of young boys and girls who haven't yet learned the art of being impassive in the face of strange new visitors from another world. Education is the key to change in the territory. The last lap for Aitape and Ladava. Aitape leads now, but has promised Ladava the forward roll in the run downhill back to the Blue Sea. Ambunti, surrounded by marsh and mountains, set 232 miles from the sea. It is an Australian sub-district headquarters with school, post office, airfield and responsibility for some of the wildest country in New Guinea. A big day for this isolated community set in one of the last areas of the territory to come off the restricted travel list. End of the line. A hearty welcome and a chance for a real run ashore. A time to relax and assess what has been achieved. Even as they berth, the commanding officers are planning the next try, planning to discover just how far is the limit for the Sepik, this muddy highway into the heart of New Guinea. They have proved the versatility of their little ships in a new field. It may be a long time before their work will allow them to again change their cruising grounds from the clear Pacific to the mobile mud of the Sepik. But their determination is clear. They will return. There is a saying on the Sepik, you can beat malaria, but you can't dodge Sepik fever.